minute.
We have another minute.
I've got a minute left.
You have another minute.
Oh, on my watch, we have another minute. And mine's official watch.
Well, listen, I invited Kermit the Frog, so we gotta wait to see if he shows up. Kermit the Frog is here.
20 seconds. Did you like the service Friday night? That was it? You watched that's rock. That was wonderful.
Still no for Heal Us Now. Heal Us was awesome.
Heal Us Now, they did it well.
They did the song well.
But we've got our own special issue.
Yes. And Kermit and I were writing.
Good.
Yeah.
I will look forward to it.
Yeah.
Now we start talking to each other.
The music stops and everyone starts talking. I love it. I absolutely love it. Shabbat Shalom, everybody. And to everyone watching live stream, Shabbat Shalom. It is good to be back here. Last Friday night, I was on the pulpit at Temple Emmanuel in Cleveland, helping to install a dear friend of mine as rabbi of that pulpit. And you know, it's a very small world because Rabbi Matt Cohen, that rabbi, had served in Galveston for several years, and I actually had installed him on the pulpit down there. And of course, Rabbi Kessler left here to replace Rabbi Cohen, okay? And it gets even better because one of the ministers that Rabbi Cohen worked closely with was there to also help install Matt. So we are in Cleveland talking about Galveston, talking about Rabbi Kessler, and it was just, we all had to stop and laugh for a moment how small and incestuous this world really, really is. So that said, well, I guess that's an important way to think about. You know, it's because the world is kol ha'olam kulo gesher tzar ma'od. The whole world is a very narrow place. We're separated by a very narrow bridge. Narrow in that there's not much space between us, and yet too often we treat it as chasms. But if we want to build this world back together and to create the sense of shlemut that will heal this world, then we have to remember that it's built on love, and it's built on grace and on compassion, which probably is a wonderful lead-in to Olam Chesed Yibaneh. We'll build this world on love and on compassion. words haven't changed in thousands of years, but every time we say them, they're with a new intention. We'll continue with from the Psalm, Shir Chadash, page 648, in Mishkan Tefillah. And the music will only get even better next week because Monday they're putting in the new sound system. Everyone say yay. Yay. Yes, I just got confirmation. So that's going to be wonderful. But it's great that we can be here. We're going to set aside the week that has been. We're going to light our Shabbat candles. Simi, if you'll join me, please. And we're going to be on page 120. This is what you get to do. Between my fingers.
As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so may we, by our lives, give light to all who behold us. As their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who have kindled light, so may we in our own day be among those who kindle light.
Now take the little candle and then light the big candle. Cool. Okay, and then just snuff it out in the candle. Yep. Great job.
The heaven and the earth were finished, and all their array. On the seventh day, God finished the work that God had been doing. And God ceased on the seventh day from all the work that God had done. And God blessed the seventh day and declared it holy, because on it God ceased from all the work of creation that God had done.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu, v'shabbat kodsho be'ahava u'v'ratzon hinchilanu, zikaron ma'aseh v'reishit, ki hu yom tehillah l'mikrae kodesh, zecher l'tziad mitzrayim, ki vanu v'charta yotanu kidashta mikol ha'amim, v'shabbat נפשך באהבה וברצון הנחלתנו ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש השבת אמן.
Chaim? We're going to continue page 264. Please rise for Baruch Hu. Page 266, let's read responsively, please. In each age, we receive and transmit Torah. At each moment, we are addressed by the world. In each age, we add our wisdom to that which has gone before. At each moment, the knowing heart is filled with wonder. Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Vaed.
Please be seated.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך וקשרתם לאות על ידיך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
אמת ואמונה כל זאת, וקיים עלינו כי הוא אדוני אלוהינו ואין זולתו. V'anachnu Yisrael Amo. We worship the power that unites the universe, a promise of harmony for all. Yet that together, Yet that oneness.
Eludes our grasp, as imperfection and evil abound.
Before our eyes, there's a vision of perfection, order, and goodness.
There is evil enough to break the heart, and there is good enough to exalt the soul.
When will redemption come?
When we grant everyone what we claim for ourselves.
Long ago, we escaped the tyranny of Egypt. Our people saw the power of the Most High.
We learn God's presence redeems time and event. Shall we celebrate this power that makes for freedom?
So, how many of you have heard people say that they're atheists? Right. Now, I tell them I don't believe there is such a thing. Now, I think there are a lot of folks who don't believe in traditional notions of God, whatever those may be. But I ask them, the question I always ask, when you go to sleep, do you let something else control the universe? And they look at me like I'm crazy. I said, now, when you're sleeping, you're not controlling the universe. And you believe that it'll still be there and functioning when you get up in the morning, right? So there's something that you're willing to accept. You can't prove, you can't touch it, you can't name it, but you're willing to go to bed at night and get a good night's rest, or whatever rest you can get if you've got a dog that doesn't want to go to sleep till late, and let it go. And then wake up in the morning. And we take that for granted as if it's not such a big deal. And yet, the last piece of this service, this part of the service, the Shema and his blessings, the last piece is a prayer that says, God, I'm going to let it go tonight. And I'm going to expect that when I wake up in the morning, it's still going to be there. Okay? And so, Hashki Venu, let there be this shelter of peace. Let's make sure I feel in my heart, my soul, that when I go to sleep, it's all good. And that's where we're going to move from the Shema, this moment of praise, into a celebration of what can be. On page 271. Page 272, we celebrate this day of Shabbat with the Shamru.
ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. בני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם, אותי לעולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. וביום השביעי שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם.
And with that, on page 273, you see the word tefillah in Hebrew, the big word at the top of the page? It's the next rubric of the service, but the word tefillah we always translate as prayer. But prayer really means the motivation to think a little bit differently. It's introspection. And so, I have no idea what God does with prayer. I've said that. Never tap me on the shoulder to tell me. But it should change us. And so this is the time that we talk about everything that's been in our thousands of years. And then we start thinking about what we can do to make the world more the world for which we pray. And so we rise as we enter this introspective period of tefillah.
Adonai, sifatai tiftach, ufi agi tehilatecha. Eternal God, open my lips, that my mouth may declare your glory.
274.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'koneh HaKol, V'zocher Hasdei Avot v'Imachot, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה. מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם בעזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, בחיי הכל אתה ורב הושיע. מחלקי חיים בחסד, בחיי הכל ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בגבורות, ומדומה לך, מלך ממית ומחיה, ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמן לכל הכל. ברוך אתה אדוני, מלאי הכל.
אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יללוך הסלע, ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש. You are holy, your name is holy, those who praise you every day. Praised are you, Adonai, the holy God. Please be seated. In 278, let's read together, please. May these hours of rest and renewal open our hearts to joy and our minds to truth. May all who struggle find rest on this day. May all who suffer find solace. May all who hurt find healing on this day. May all who despair find purpose. May all who hunger find fulfillment on this day. And may we all live in such a way that this day fulfills its promise. Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh ha-Shabbat. So we move from introspection about how we can fix the world and we can do things to fix the way in which we interact to a place where we actually pray for peace. And we're going to continue with Sim Shalom. It's actually not in this service. If you'll turn to page 258, you can see the words for Sim Shalom.
Shalom.
take a moment and let's think about people who are in need. Let's think about the ways in which we can interact with them, the way that we can be instruments of healing in their lives. We'll come back together for Misha Berach. Thinking about all who are suffering from violence in this world, people who are suffering at the hands of nature, people who are ill, people who are injured, who are struggling, people who are sheltered in their homes out of fear. We add to these names those of members of our own community: Ed Beck, Lois Gallowitz, Gail Feldman, Honey Kibler, Gary Grobman, Marvin Kimmel, Nathan Snyder, Cantor Judith Avadia, Dorothy Parent, Jackie Becker, and Nachama Chai. Are there others whose names we'd like to add? Gary Rosenstock as well. Are there other names that we would like to share?
Barbara Becker.
Baruch atah Adonai Rofeh HaCholim. God, give us the power to bring healing to each other. So I want to share 4 verses from this week's Torah portion. But before I do that, I need you to get out the red Chumash, the red book that's in front of you, and turn to page 957, but don't read it yet. So the 4 verses. Regarding your fellow Israelite, no one shall rule with cruelty over another. That's Leviticus 25:46. From 26:1 and 2, you shall not make idols for yourselves or set up yourselves carved images or pillars or place figured stones in your land to worship upon, for I and Adonai am your God. You shall keep my Sabbaths and venerate my sanctuary, mine, Adonai's. From 26:11 and 12, I will establish my abode in your midst, and I will not spurn you. I will be ever present in your midst. I will be your God, and you shall be my people. And then from 26:45, I will remember in their favor the covenant with the ancients, whom I freed from the land of Egypt, in the sight of the nations, to be their God, I, Adonai. Anybody want to characterize those 4 pieces? How's God feeling about us in those 4 pieces? Good? Bad? All in favor of God, we're okay with God, raise your hand if you were paying attention. Okay. So anybody think that there's anything that God said there that is hateful? No. But now I want you to read 26, just silently. Okay, first half is real good, and we'll talk about the rest of it. So take just a moment. It's okay to skim it. You don't have to get every word. So if you do all this good stuff, then God says, I'm going to do great stuff, right? And then 2/3 of that chapter is, but if you don't, then what's going to happen? All sorts of horrible stuff. 2 times the horrible as the good. That's what it says. I didn't make this up, right? And now you plug the verses that I pulled out back into context, and we have a small conundrum. So I'm not going to ask for a show of hands here. But how many of you have ever had a knockdown, drag-out fight, hopefully only verbally, with someone you love? Yeah, I said I wasn't going to ask you to raise your hand, okay? And it wasn't with Ken, I know, right? Yeah, this almost sounds like a spurned lover. So if you do everything, if you listen and obey and all that, I'm going to give you the world. But if you mess with me, all hell's going to break loose. Now, we don't necessarily like this piece of text, but it's still our text. And so I love the fact that the rabbis will tell us how to read this text. One, you know that you're supposed to argue. There are times that the text says, debate me. Darshani, debate me, because if you read it literally, we're all in trouble. Okay? So, but what do we get out of the fact that there's 2/3 the damage possible, 2 times the damage possible than the blessings possible? Anybody want to venture just a thought of how we turn this into a usable and teachable moment? Anybody believe that God is up there taking tally? Okay. So this would, if you read it literally, God's counting, right? I don't know that most of us, and not just certainly in a Reformed Jewish or even a Jewish world, I don't think that most people look at God that way outside of a fundamentalist perspective. Okay? So what do we learn? That there's two times the pitfalls as the opportunities for blessing. Nobody has anything to offer? I thought this would be a great conversation. Yes, please.
To me, it's cautionary.
Keep going with that.
So you can do all the good things, but I mean, we're humans, so we inevitably are going to slip, and that's easier. Right, yeah, it's easier. And I think that this goes with, what you can do to, I don't know if atone is the right word, but make things better, make the world better.
Okay, I like that. Anybody else, Lori? So for those at home, we've got one statement that is cautionary and gives us the opportunity to pay attention and do our teshuvah atonement work. And another, it's a recognition that when we fall, it's twice as hard to sometimes get back. When a train is going the wrong direction and it figures out it's going in the wrong direction, it has to go further in the wrong direction while it's slowing down before it can stop. And then it has to turn around and look at the distance it has to travel just to get back to a starting place. So the rabbis love both of you, okay? Because what we're taught is that we take our blessings for granted, okay? And so we're going to not do all of the things that we're supposed to do. And again, doing all of the mitzvot, mitzvah is a loaded word, so they're not really commandments, but the idea is we're not going to go out of our way to treat each other well, and we're going to find ourselves way too often in a deficit where we have taken things for granted, we've taken each other for granted, when we've taken our blessings for granted, and the natural order of things is going to be disastrous if we don't figure it out. And so the God of the Bible isn't God because these are our stories and they're culled from other stories. But the God of the Bible, the rabbis teaches, this is the natural order. If you behave horribly, you're going to get a horrible result. And if you take blessings for granted, you're not going to get to keep them. So we have to live intentionally. And we have to go out of our way to make sure that the things that we do make sense, not just for ourselves, but for everyone around us. And in this day and age, of course, that's a conversation piece that no one wants to have because we live in silos, worse silos, every day that we open the news to see the politics. And at some point, we're going to realize that the impact of what we are not taking care of will affect everybody. But this is not a new lesson. Anybody know the name Martin Niemöller? Lutheran pastor after World War II. When they came for the trade unionists, I didn't speak up because I wasn't a trade unionist. When they came for the communists, I didn't speak up because I wasn't a communist. When they came for the Jews, I didn't speak up because... And when they came for me, there was no one left to speak. So somehow we go through this world thinking that we can do whatever we want and there's no consequences, but there's horrific consequences. And really the only thing that we have to do, maybe why the list is so much shorter, the only thing that we have to do is we have to take care of each other. And that means take care of the land on which we live. That means take care of the dignity. That means to remember that I don't care what religion or whatever you are, God doesn't make mistakes. And we're all human. And yet sometimes, too often, we end up drawing lines based on the labels that we have artificially absorbed or pinned on to people. So it's important, as the book of Leviticus is ending, because this is the last piece of the book of Leviticus, where we get all of these ritual rules. The final piece of it is, folks, pay attention. Your behaviors have consequences, blessed and negative. And the negative can really, really be destructive. But God says that even when we act badly, going back to one of the verses that I quoted, even when you act badly, I will remember the covenant. I will remember that you're my people and I'm your God. But I can't do it without you. So I'm always there. The door is always open. The Ner Tamid is always lit. But God says, I can't do it without you. And I need you to be my partner. God can't feed hungry people if we ignore their need. God can't bring peace into this world if we're intent on destroying it. So it really does depend upon us. Ani ve'ata neshaneh et ha'olam. You and I, we can change the world. And I think most appropriately that the verses that we just read end this book, because at the end of the book, you're supposed to recite words of blessing. Chazak, chazak, v'nit chazek. Strength, strength, let us strengthen each other. So with all of the stuff that we know is happening, let's figure out, as we're about to enter into the new book, which, by the way, will be the book of Numbers, which is all about taking a census, which is all about remembering that everybody matters. Nice segue between the two books. Let's not wait until we're counted. Let's make sure we count each other. Amen? Amen. So we're going to come back into our Siddur. We're at page 586. I'll ask that we rise, please.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוסר הארץ, ומושב יקרו בשמיים ממעל, ושכינה רוזו בגובה מרומים, הוא אלוהינו אין עוד, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר וחי אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד.
People leave our hands, but they don't leave our hearts. And even when they have finished their time on earth physically, they continue to impact the world with their legacy. And so 4 times during the year, during Yizkor services, we call them to memory, and then again on the anniversary of their transition. So this week's Yortzites: Florian Alpern, Bertha Bretter Sen, Bruce Philip Cooper, Conrad Elfenbein, Samuel Elfenbein, Florence Rapkin Goldberg, Barbara Greenwald, Mildred E. Hand, Morris E. Jacobson, Mariner Levy, Sophie Loengard, Bernice Melnikov, Albert Posner, Evelyn Rosenstock, Morris M. Serrata, Ida Spector, Ella W. Spector, and Marvin A. Zisman. Are there other annual Yortzites being observed this week? Zichronam livracha. May the memories that they leave to us lead us to blessing. Page 598 for the words of Kaddish. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei rabba, be'alma divrach hirutzei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chai echon of yom echon, ufchayei dechol beit Yisrael, b'agala v'izman kari v'imru amen. Yehi shmei rabba mevorach le'olam u'lalmei almaya, Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ah v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, Vitadar, vitale, vitalal, shemeda kudsha, brichu. Leila min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, ta'amiran be'alma v'imru, amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru, amen. Osei shalom imromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru, amen. May the source of peace send peace to all who mourn, comfort the bereaved amongst us. May we say together, amen. Please be seated. Jeanette. While Jeanette's coming up, I will share with you that if you look at the program tonight, the inside is upside down. It's because, of course, I did the printing. And I have great news. Not only is the new sound system coming on Monday, but we have brought forward a candidate for executive director to the board last night. And so yeah, I would just say everything is moving full steam ahead.
Shabbat Shalom. We have a lot of things going on, starting with tomorrow. We have the Rabbi's Virtual Torah Study at 9 a.m., followed by Tot Shabbat here at the temple as well. On May 14th, 21st, and 26th, we have our Temple Ov Shalom teen programs, including on the 26th, Confirmation and Shavuot. We are going to be getting more involved with our Capital Rebirth partner. We've been talking a lot about that, and we're going to be doing some programs with them, some flag football, and as you can see in the program, some other programs that they're going to have with us on women's self-defense, financial literacy, social media do's and don'ts, and they all start at 6 o'clock. The other thing that's coming up is with Sisterhood next Sunday. We have a planning meeting on at 10 o'clock. Everybody is welcome. We're going to be talking about what programs we want to have for the next year. If you'd like to come, just show up and, with your ideas. And then the other big thing is bring your Cracker Jacks on June 16th. We're going to be having a Shabbat at the baseball stadium, Shabbat services, and then we'll go watch the Senators hopefully win. Nice. Shabbat Shalom.
But I don't think you can bring your own Cracker Jacks. I think that violates the policy. You got to buy them there. But just a couple of things additionally. The Capital Rebirth, I really encourage you to Google them. A bunch of young people who have figured out that inner city Harrisburg youth need a different trajectory than what they inherited. And their stuff is incredible. They are running the Flag Football League. They've got 180 kids that are playing flag football on Wednesday nights. Boys, girls, there's not competition. Everyone's out there having fun. But the key is Monday night, then adults. We're housing here downstairs, adult education. They did a piece on credit repair last Monday night. We had 62 people. It was incredible. And they didn't get the message out well last week because the flag football just started this last Wednesday. But they're asking kids to bring homework, and we're asking some people if they can show up and help with some homework help and some tutoring. So it's a great partnership that we're embarking in. And then June 9th, is it? Yeah. June 9th, we need some people who are willing to help lead services here. We'll be sharing with Bethel as we go later on in the summer, and we were all there last week. But I will be unavailable. I'm having surgery on the 7th. So we need some people who are willing to join this fine crew and lead services on the 9th. And then we'll all come back together for baseball the week after. So, okay?
We're really fun. We don't bite.
Yeah. So if you...
You're sick.
Mostly.
Guys, thank you, Conrad. Thank you, Sarah. We're blessed to have each other. Before we go our way, we're about to close with the Don Olam, but I want you to take a moment after we're done to make sure you don't walk out either of these doors without greeting someone, saying hi to someone you haven't met, or making sure that someone you haven't seen in a while gets a handshake, a hug, a fist bump, or whatever we're comfortable with, okay? So with that, we are going to be on page 625 for Adon Olam.
Adon Olam asher malach b'terem kol yitzir nivra li'ed nasa v'chafso kol azam ele shemo nikra. Adon Olam asher malach b'terem kol yitzir nivra li'ed nasa v'chafso kol azam ele shemo nikra. Adon Olam asher malach b'terem kol yitzir nivra li'ed nasa v'chafso kol azam ele shemo nikra. Ve'arek yikhlot hakol levado yimloch nora v'hu haya v'hu hover v'hu yeh betifara v'hu yeh betifara. Adon Olam asher malach b'terem kol yitzir nivra li'ed nasa v'chafso kol azam ele shemo nikra.
One last comment on Capital Rebirth. The session this week is on women's self-defense. By the way, it's open to everybody. And we live in a world where I think it's important. Everybody should have some basics. And our daughter just got her master's this last week. She's moving to South Carolina. And it hit us that she should be taking such a class. So if you're interested, please join us. So with that, does anybody want to consider themselves young tonight so I can come down there and be joined? I'm going to go down there anyway. Okay. So as we traveled from this place, having warmly greeted each other, having welcomed Shabbat with each other, having welcomed some guests with us, let's make sure that we celebrate this day as a day of renewal. Make sure it's not just another day on the calendar. Abraham Joshua Heschel said, you may have 10 minutes. You may have only 10 minutes, but make those the Shabbatiest, my word, 10 minutes.